President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods. Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson after all these years. What an absolutely delightful shock this is. One of the most despicable mother Tuckers ever to appear on American television.
Jimmy Kimmel returned to the air last night, about a week after his Disney bosses sidelined him for comments that he made after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. In the wake of that decision, Hollywood and others on the left rallied around him, pushing Disney to reverse their decision. Kimmel returned to social media ahead of his show taping on Tuesday. He posted a picture to Instagram with television legend Norman Lear and the caption, "Missing this guy today." And the show's Instagram account also posted a picture of Kimmel and his right-hand man Guillermo embracing with the caption, "We are back full of love." But while the late night host is back, the fallout continues. Broadcast groups Sinclair and Nexstar own 60 ABC affiliates across the country. That nets out to about 22 million households. They refused to put Kimmel's show back on their stations last night, and as of late Tuesday, had not announced any longer-term decisions. But their hands could be forced legally. Affiliates owned by groups like Sinclair and Nexstar, well, they've got big contracts with the networks, and not airing Kimmel for an extended amount of time could lead to violations of those contracts' terms. Disney could, in theory, take him to court if it comes to that. And it's also worth noting that Kimmel's contract is up this coming May, and he's hinted at retirement, so this could all change again for Disney in just a few months.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Democrat Party / liberal propagandist Jimmy Kimmel's and Bits returning back to the Disney / ABC airwaves, or at least some airwaves, after being temporarily suspended and now given a platform once again because Disney decided to fold to the Democrat / liberal mob over the temporary cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel, okay, for making insensitive comments, aka lying about the motivations of the Charlie Kirk assassin. Now, I think most people who watch Jimmy Kimmel were looking for an apology from Jimmy Kimmel about what he said, okay? I know that Sinclair, Nexstar, the broadcast stations that are currently not airing Jimmy Kimmel on their ABC affiliate stations, they are looking for a full-throated apology from Jimmy Kimmel. And also Turning Point USA as well, too, is looking for a full-throated apology from Jimmy Kimmel. And lo and behold, that's not what we got, okay? Unsurprisingly, this guy went on air and basically lied once again while refusing to apologize. Take a look.
I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever. And also, selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject. But I don't want to make this about me because, and I know this is what people say when they make things about them, but I really don't. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
Bob Iger wanted to be on the right side of history. Do you want to be the one who caved to the White House and took really an institution off the air. Late night television has been with us for a long time. And you could see last night, it can really galvanize the country. It was a very old-fashioned moment. We all sat down and wanted to, at the same time, and wanted to hear what he had to say. And it's become, there's been a national conversation about it for days. You don't want to lose that. And that's what's under attack. And I think Jimmy defended it. I think he set the proper tone in trying to comfort people who were perhaps disturbed that you were talking about this in a comedy monologue when people were still raw about it. And he stayed on brand. The rest of the show was tough, topical political comedy.
So, Chloe, what's next for Kimmel? What's next for ABC?
Well, you know, first of all, like you said, he really towed the line. He cried, in my eyes, twice. I mean, I even got emotional watching Jimmy, what he had to say. And what's next is he's going to do his job.
His job, which is clearly not comedy. It is clearly propaganda. And that is what he engaged in. Because, again, he refused to apologize while at the same time continuing to gaslight America and claim that, well, I don't know what the motivations of the shooter were, right? I don't know, okay? Outside the fact that this is a deeply disturbed individual, when we do know what the motivations were, right? But again, this dude had no problems implying, if not outright stating, okay, in his initial coverage of this that, hey, MAGA's trying to blame everybody except themselves. Again, strongly implying at the very least that the shooter was MAGA. Now it comes time to come out and to give an apology, to show some remorse for those insensitive comments. And lo and behold, not only do you not get an apology, but you get more gaslighting, right? Pretending as if, well, we don't know what the motivations were. Now, again, what I found to be fascinating about this is because there's always a clip out there showing the hypocrisy of these individuals. Once again, when it comes to these situations, like, for example, take a look at what Jimmy Kimmel had to say in the wake of what happened to Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, and what he claims is the right's response to what happened to Paul Pelosi. And I just want you guys to think about whether or not Jimmy Kimmel is being consistent with things that he said in the past when they believe that the right is making insensitive comments when acts of violence happen to the left, which in that case, it was not at the hands of somebody that was far right. It actually likely was at the hands of far leftists, but they claimed that the dude is far right with no evidence. Regardless, again, take a look at what he said back then.
An 82-year-old man has been attacked in his bed in his home by a person who obviously has some problems, and that our first reaction isn't, oh my goodness, even if they're lying, even if they're pretending to have concern, how can the reaction possibly be? How can we move so quickly to smearing these people, to trying to create some, and you know, by the way, now that the police report is out, I haven't exactly seen Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Donnie Jr. correcting them and saying, oh my goodness, now that we read the facts of the story, certainly we feel terrible that we spread these vicious lies around, and we retract them and apologize to the Pelosi family. No, you'll never see that. When an apology isn't even offered, listen, these people are supposed to be Christians. I am a Catholic. I grew up in the church. What I was taught was that if you do something wrong, you ask for forgiveness and you are forgiven for these things. The idea that it would be anything other than that these people who are allegedly following the teachings of Jesus would behave in this way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense at all. And I just can't understand how that works for so many people, so many Americans.
Wait. Hold on now. Let me get this straight. So in the wake of the attack against Paul Pelosi, which Paul Pelosi did not die, right? By the way, that's a very important detail to note. Paul Pelosi did not die. Okay. Jimmy Kimmel was upset with the right for making what he claimed were insensitive comments, right, in the wake of what happened to Paul Pelosi, right, and then said, hey, well, there needs to be an apology. There needs to be an apology, especially considering how the information has come out from the FBI, okay, showed that, hey, this was, in fact, real, that this happened, this is the person who did it. He was demanding an apology, right? After being appalled by the initial reaction, okay, making insensitive comments in the wake of that happening to Paul Pelosi. Now, again, fast forward 3 years, this guy made not only insensitive comments about Charlie Kirk and what happened to him, a person who was assassinated, actually killed, right? He made a joke about it and he lied, right? He lied about it. Now comes time to apologize, given the fact that we know for a fact that the person who did it was a far leftist. We know why he did it. We know the motivations behind why he did it. Not only does this dude refuse to apologize, but again, he also lies and pretends that he doesn't know the motivations of the shooter, right? Again, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing considering the fact that he was basically demanding apologies in the wake of what happened to Paul Pelosi, right? But again, when the roles are reversed and he makes insensitive comments about Charlie Kirk, he's refusing to apologize. He's refusing to acknowledge the truth and the misinformation that he put out there to the world. Again, these people are massive hypocrites. This is the same guy that celebrated the cancellation of Tucker Carlson from Fox News. He celebrated the cancellation of Roseanne Barr. He celebrated the cancellation of basically all the conservatives, right? When they were fired or let go or canceled from major platforms, he celebrated. He was totally fine with it.
Roseanne, you're not going to believe this, but she tweeted something outrageous. I know, yeah, right. The president did it too. It's crazy. Anyway, ABC decided to cancel their highest-rated show, Roseanne, following a tweet in which Roseanne compared an African-American woman, a former advisor to President Obama, to an ape, which did not sit well with ABC management or anyone with a brain, really. So they announced that this first season of the show is also its last, which is a huge blow to business. I mean, we don't have much on this network. We're hoping the NBA Finals goes 11 games this year. We're still airing America's Funniest Home Videos, okay? Roseanne was a very bigly hit for ABC, and we needed it. But I say, why just listen, hear me out. Just because Roseanne is gone doesn't mean the whole show has to go. The show must go on. That's what we say in show business. And with that said, I have an idea that I think makes this work for everyone.
America's favorite working class family is back. With all the cast members you love.
Hey, Dad. Mr. Connor, sir, hi. How are you doing?
Coming to ABC this fall.
Yeah, that job, turns out it fell through.
Dan.
Oh, come on!
Right? I mean, come on. Gee, I'm just saying.
Okay, but let Disney temporarily suspend him because, again, he made insensitive comments about a political assassination. Oh, all of a sudden he's the victim, right? It's Trump's fault. Trump tried to silence me, right? Even though Trump had nothing to do with this. Again, these people make me sick. They make me sick. Can't stand them. Can't stand them. So with that being said, Turning Point USA posts searing rebuke of Jimmy Kimmel's non-apology for Charlie Kirk fib, calling him an unrepentant liar, which that's what he is at this point. He is an unrepentant liar, right? That's what we're witnessing here. Okay, this is the left. The left, they will never, ever, 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 ever apologize. They will never, ever, ever acknowledge that they're wrong. They will never, ever, ever acknowledge the truth that their disciples are the people that are committing political violence in this country, okay? Jimmy Kimmel's emotional response to the fallout from his controversial monologue has ignited fierce backlash, with conservative strategist Andrew Kolvet blasting the late-night host as a liar who smeared millions of Americans mourning the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Kolvet, executive producer of The Charlie Kirk Show and one of Kirk's closest friends, ripped Kimmel's justification as, quote, not good enough. Jimmy, it's simple, Kolvet wrote. Before posting the apology, he said Kimmel should deliver. I'm sorry for saying the shooter was MAGA. He was not. He was on the left. I apologize to the Kirk family for lying. Please accept my sincere apology. I will do better. I was wrong. Of course he's not going to say that. He would never say that. He would never say that. Because if he was to say something like that, the liberals will be upset, right? They'd be pissed off. You can't say the truth. When you're a liberal propagandist, when you're a hired propagandist, you can't tell the truth, right? This is why MSNBC said they're still flat out denying, okay, that the assassin of Charlie Kirk was left-wing, right? They're now denying that the ICE facility shooter that, again, just happened is left wing. They're going to deny it. They're never going to admit it, right? So again, his job is not to admit the truth. His job is to continue to push the propaganda, to push the narrative for the left, and to excuse political violence. That's what his job is. And that's why all these people are culpable, right, when these acts of political violence happen in this country from these leftists.
Somebody like Jimmy Kimmel says that the shooter of Charlie was MAGA. What he's really saying is that it's okay to lie about conservatives, that their lives don't matter, that his agenda, his political agenda and cultural agenda is more important than the life of my friend who was just taken from us and robbed from us. And you see this with Maggioni, you see this with Charlie Kirk, now you see it with this ICE facility. It's not okay. And when people like Jimmy Kimmel skirt the truth, when they refuse to take accountability for their actions, then that sends a signal that there's a whole institutional machinery, apparatus that's prepared to defend these evildoers. And that's not okay. What we need is, I'm sorry, I lied, I was wrong, and I won't do it again. And my apologies to the Kirk family and to Erica Kirk.
So, Andrew,
and that would have been contrition.
And yet they're dealing with this problematic situation that is popping up, and they have to determine on the ground in a moment, is this a rioter that we're dealing with? Is this a protester? And that was the challenge with the other attack that happened on July 4th. The people that were involved in that, who the government says had some tactical gear. There were shots fired. There was a police officer shot. Now some of those people that are in that case are arguing that they were just protesters. So in the moment, out there on the streets, we need to remember that ICE is dealing with what they can see around them, whether it's at a facility that is an identifiable tie to ICE or out on the streets of America where they're trying to do their job.
This is why Jimmy Kimmel needed to say, I'm sorry. And he didn't. And he needs to.
Yep.
And he needs to call Erica Kirk and talk to her. And he needs to go on his program and say, I had this lovely conversation with this grieving widow, and this is what we discussed. I mean, that's the proper way you manage this, and that did not happen yet.
Nah, that ain't gonna happen, right? That's not gonna happen. That is the last thing that a leftist would ever do, okay? Which is to admit the truth, okay? To apologize, to live up to the standards that they set for other people. They will never, ever, 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 ever do that, right? And what you saw from Jimmy Kimmel and his little monologue, his little rant last night is an example of that, right? I mean, again, it was simple. He should have just came out and apologized, and that's it. But he couldn't do that. He had to play victim. Oh, woe is me, right? Trump's trying to silence me, even though this guy celebrated basically every conservative who was deplatformed over the last 10 years. But according to the mainstream liberal media, and again, Jimmy Kimmel, the real victim is not Charlie Kirk, conservatives who are being targeted, right? No. It's actually Jimmy Kimmel, right? Jimmy Kimmel is the victim, okay? Because his free speech is being silenced. Anyways, I want to continue to read a whole statement here from Andrew Kolvet. He says, yes, Jimmy got emotional. So what? He's emotional for himself because he almost torched his entire career. Facts. Kimmel is an unrepentant liar who tried to blame Charlie's assassination on the part of the country that just spent the last 2 weeks praying and holding vigils. What he's really saying is that he still thinks it's fair game to slander conservatives. He would rather advance his own political and cultural agenda than confront the truth. The truth is that his own side has been fanning the flames of political assassinations for years. True. The truth is that someone on the left picked up a gun and murdered someone on the right who advocated for peaceful debate. It's critical that liars admit they lied. There can be no restoration without that. Anything short of that is a fake and scripted cry line designed to endear him to his fans, not to make right the wrong he committed. Facts. This statement was perfect because that's exactly what it is. So at this point, I mean, listen, here's the thing, right? Jimmy Kimmel may be taking a short-sighted victory lap because a few people tuned in to watch his show to see if he would apologize, which he didn't. The reality is that his show is dying, okay? His show will continue to die, okay? And eventually, I think he's going to be let go anyways, right? Just like Stephen Colbert, eventually Jimmy Kimmel is going to lose his job because I have a hard time imagining that Disney is making much money off of Jimmy Kimmel at this point, right? If CBS couldn't make money off Stephen Colbert, again, I don't think they're making money off Jimmy Kimmel. So I wouldn't be surprised if he eventually ends up getting canceled sooner or later anyways, right? And it will be for business reasons. And I know that the left, they will boo-hoo whine and cry about it. He's just delaying the inevitable. okay? But the fact that he refuses to apologize, the fact that he continues to gaslight, it shows you who these people are. And when these people show you who they are, believe them, right? Believe them. There is a whole media apparatus, liberal media apparatus, leftist media at this point, that is designed to hide the truth from the American people and to gaslight the public into believing things that aren't true to cover up for political violence that is happening in this country from these leftists. And again, it is really despicable, right? The people that we're dealing with at this point and the tactics that they will employ in order to mislead the public and to protect their agenda. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.